so step one is we're going to try to draw a flower off the page. And so you could either have it centered and have your petals go off. You can choose to have it in a corner. Obviously, flowers have petals, so I'm just going to draw some petals. And they're just going to kind of spill off the page here. And I'm not even going to worry about too much structure to it because I can come back in and add some things. If I wanted to end up, you know, widening those out, I could do that. So there's my flower. Step one, done. Now the decision of which paintbrush to use. So I've got all these choices. And what I'm going to do is actually start in the, at the petal level, but I'm going to leave my center as much as I can open to come back and do the yellow with it. So I think I'm going to try to use, this is a number 6. It's got the flat edge, and I had actually decided I wanted to do sort of an orange flower, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I got some red on my brush. I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do the outside of the, I'm just going to start with one petal at a time and just kind of paint along the, again, I'm trying to keep that center, so I'm going to go ahead and make a little circle around the center. And just kind of do the outside. I'm trying to use enough paint to cover it. Around those edges, I might come back and paint some green when I'm done. And now I'm going to fill it in, and I'm going to show you how we're going to kind of make this more of an orangey color. So I'm going to paint it off the edge. So there's petal 1, and orange is obviously red and yellow. So I'm just going to take a touch of yellow and kind of mix it in a little, not too much. I don't necessarily want. I shouldn't have said orange. I just wanted it to look more, not just straight red, but have some contrast to it. So I'm just going to kind of put in some yellow. You might want to choose to let your class only have one color petals, okay? When I'm done with that, I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to use, actually I didn't have to rinse my brush because I'm going to use a smaller brush, but that's okay. I'm going to use this number 6 round tip. I'm just going to take some white and kind of do a little white along the edges. Just kind of working it in back and forth. One of the great things about painting is it's hard to mess up because you can come back in and fix whatever you think doesn't look right. I would encourage the students to not go too heavy with stuff. You want them to kind of keep it light when they're painting. Don't press down hard with the brush. The brush is going to be your friend if you work with it lightly. And I'm working from the center outwards, just to kind of let that petal fall off the edge of the page. Okay. And put a few more. All right, so I'm going to say that's good. I rinse that brush. Make sure you dry your brush really well that you used for the red petal. And I'm going to try to go through and finish it off. So I'm going to do each petal very similar. And you'll see I'm overlapping that petal, and that's okay because I might end up with fewer petals than I drew. So I'm really going off the edge there, like I said. Okay. I didn't have to rinse that since I'm using yellow, but that's okay, I rinsed it. So I'm going to add some yellow in. Just kind of mixing it. Acrylics dry pretty quick, so you have to be, if you're going to do 2 colors, maybe only older classes need to really try that, and you need to be quick about it. Okay, I'm actually not going to wash that brush since I'm going to use it for my red. coming over to white with the round 6. Just gonna add a little. Along the edges there. And then just kind of working it out. I'm trying to go quickly because I know you don't want to have to watch this whole video. And alright, so there's petal 2. Moving on right along. And I'm already abandoning my 5 petals. I'm completely not sticking to my outline. As long as they're pretty consistent in the width at this point where they would be, then I'm going to say we're good. And I'm going to try something different and go ahead and do the next petal for time's sake. It might draw on me too soon, but maybe I'll beat the clock. And then we'll go ahead and do this last one. Gonna come over here a little more. Alright. Pick up some yellow and try to come and drop it in real quick. Make that a little bit of an oranger color, or a softer red, I guess. Okay, good, that worked well. Now I'm gonna go back with my white and start on the edges. And just kind of pick up a little more and work it in. Pick up a little more and work it in. Remember, soft strokes, really encourage them to not press down hard. They're going to find the paintbrush is their friend if they do soft. Not a lot of pressure. I'm going to have to turn my painting to not get it on my sleeve. And if you think it has too much white, you can come back with your red and add some red on top so that it's hard to mess up. It's the wonderful thing about painting. Okay, so I might just kind of come back in and make mix a little bit together. Put some darker red to make it maybe stand out a little bit more. Just still treating each petal as an individual thing. And they're not just going to go in and do all the red around. Still work on it one petal at a time. Okay, so I'm going to say that's good for now. Rinse that brush. And I'm going to pick back up my flat brush. I really liked it a lot. I'm going to make some, I'm going to put some yellow in the center here. And so I'm just going to try not to work in any of that red that's wet. And just do the yellow in the center. And if they grab in some red, it's okay. Maybe kind of that spills over a little into that white. The idea is to have color and not much white on the page when we're done. other than the white that we put in. All right, so that's gonna kind of be my center there. And now I'm gonna mix some yellow and blue together. I'm gonna grab a lot of yellow. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna grab a lot of yellow. It still has some red in it, but I think that's okay. I'm just gonna pick up a little blue because I can always add more. And it's still a little bit yellowy, so I'm gonna add a little more blue. Make it a little darker, and you can keep it yellowy. Maybe a touch more blue. Okay, so I like that color green. I'm gonna work with it. I'm just gonna go in and, like I said, we're just kind of trying to not have white places on. Still using that flat 6. I'm just gonna fill in any gaps with my green. Almost done. I think it's looking pretty good. Now, if I felt like I needed more red definition there along the edges, and if I had time with my class, I might go around to each child and just kind of offer some tips to help. So I'm gonna say we could kind of make that red a little more. Just real lightly pressing down. Outline that petal a little more. Just real lightly pressing down. Come with this one because it's going to come from the center and go all the way out. Pressing down. Oh yeah, I think that made a big difference. And this one seems to be overlapping that one right there, so there we go. And yeah, I've still got some red, so I'm just going about a few minutes. Add a few extra strokes here. Yeah. When it comes off the paper. Okay. Let's see if I can get it to tear without something leave too much. So this was our Georgia O'Keeffe Up Close flower.